Well, welcome to week 2. You're probably starting to feel like, oh, this is a lot of work. Well, it is, but the more practice you get, the quicker you'll get to your goal. So don't be afraid of practicing and struggling a little bit. You got to embrace the struggle on this. Okay, the second week, we're going to look at the second study, the second scale study, which will be the A form. Again, we're not taking these in order yet, because when they're in order, they spell the word caged, and they make a single matrix on the neck where the fingering for your scales is the same in every key. And we'll explain how that works later, but it's just something that's part of the goal that you'll start to understand. It'll really help you get to the goal quicker if you do this condensed type of study, where we're studying how to play the instrument as a tuned percussion instrument, or also learning how to play our scales, get individual finger control. Very important stuff. So we're going to go back to the second scale form. You'll see that in the on your PDF, you've got a couple different fingerings for descending. We're going to try to use the ideal minimal finger motion paradigm to start with. So let's start again, 4 fingers, 4 frets. Remember the E form, we started on the low E string, and that was our root, do, or tonic root bass note. Do, re, mi, fa, do. Okay, we're going to move over a string. The A form starts on the A string. By the way, a quick thing about remembering, E, A, and D forms start on E, A, and D strings. That's where the root points start, and they have each of those string names seem to have a root point in your chord forms as well. So it's a little easier to remember where to start those, and they always start with the second finger. So you'll be able to differentiate the chord shapes and forms as you play the scales, because each one will start with a different finger on a different string. There's only 5 to learn. You get 5 weeks to learn them. So try to stay up with your milestones and get ready for an evaluation. Again, you can go at your own pace. You don't want to move too slowly, but you don't want to move so fast you're not getting it all. So make sure you get plenty of practice. If it takes you a couple, 2 or 3 weeks to get to week 2, that's fine too. But you'll find by the 3rd or 4th week, you'll really start trucking along, and you'll be able to move through your scale studies much faster. We're going to use the metronome again today too. So let's go to the A shape. I'm going to show you first, and we'll click on that metronome and we'll play along. Here's how it looks. First octave is the same fingering. 2nd, 4th, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 1st, 3rd, 4th. That gives your first do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Same as the E form, only you're over one string. So you start on the 5th string. Don't forget your right hand technique. Try to keep your right hand going at the same time. Thumb is out. You use the thumb on the bottom 3 strings. When you get down to the bottom 3 strings, you rest it somewhere down here on one of these strings, whatever is most comfortable. Some people rest on the last string they left off of so they can feel those strings. So we use the fingers in a rest stroke. Scoving right hand, remember trying to keep this angle at a 90-degree angle with the string, so you're picking straight across. Pinky, slide down. Take a look at the left hand again. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. 4th finger, slide up 2 frets. Strike the string. Crunch. We're no longer 4 fingers, 4 frets for a moment. Our next note's right there. Now we're 4 fingers, 4 frets for the rest of the exercise. Back down the same way. Crunch coming down. Pinky goes here. Normally we'd go here. We crunch slightly. Slide down. And don't depend on that slide for your note. Some of you guys have been playing a little while, and you'll just slide past that. Strike every note when you start. You want every note to be part of what you're doing. So here we go. Let's get that. We'll put on the metronome for you right now. This will be 60 beats a minute. Notice that higher pitch is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slide, crunch. Still a rest stroke with the right hand. Always alternating your index and middle finger to start with. Crunch, slide, minimal amount of motion to get through the exercise. I'm going to go up a half step or 1 fret. Play along with me. See what 60 beats a minute is. Use your own metronome when you practice. You'll find out probably by the second week, 60 beats a minute will be pretty easy if you've been practicing. Remember, if you're practicing the number of reps you're supposed to practice every day, by now you should have several hundred reps of your first scale study, and the second scale study should be pretty easy. Okay, that should be pretty easy to play at that speed, like I mentioned just a moment ago while I was playing and talking at the same time. Again, that's a skill you can develop as you practice. You want to be able to have separate motion in both hands, like patting your head and rubbing your stomach, and you want to have separate motion of each finger. So again, it takes a while to develop these muscles you've never used before. There's never been a need for you to use them. So these practices will help that, as well as teach you how to play in time. You're getting several levels of information all at once. It's not just one little piece of information that leaves you without playing anything. You're going to actually be able to play some songs at the end of a couple of weeks. Actually, you're already playing the blueses if you've been practicing your chord primers. So this is the second week, so let's take a look at your first week's chord primers. We're going to jack that metronome up to about 80 beats a minute. We're going to try strumming them. So let's take that first chord primer, starting with the G chord in its home position. Okay, here we go. Ready? 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. Here we go. Quarter notes. C for a measure. G for a measure. And C for a measure. I don't want to lead that metronome. I have a tendency to get on top there. If I get too far behind, it'll sound funny. So I want to really strike every quarter note. 3, 4, 1, 2. Now back to the beginning. 8 notes. We did this the first week. We probably did this around 80 or 90 beats a minute when we first started out. So I haven't been taking easy on you. I've been pushing you a little bit. But you got to push yourself to practice this. This is the most difficult part of your learning experience. Now, without stopping, I'm going to go right to the next exercise. So I'll do a page of the chord primers every time I exercise A, beginning of the next exercise, on to D. Again, it's 12-bar blues with plain open position chords. And we call this open position because you're at the bottom of the neck. And there's some open strings involved. E, D, remember we're doing quarter notes with our thumb. Now we're going to repeat that exercise at A. 8th notes, again, our basic flamenco strum, back and forth, but our quarter note is in our right arm. Our right forearm is still playing the quarter notes. It's lining up with our metronome. We don't curl our thumb over on the top of the left hand either. Keep that thumb back. Pull just a little bit, don't squeeze. Okay, this is simple coaching. I want you to go home and practice this, or if you're in your home, shut this off and practice. That's the end of the metronome for the moment. All right, practicing with the metronome is not going to be easy. And you want to make sure you get enough scale practice. Let me give you a for instance. If I say practice it 20 times at every fret the first week, and you go up, say, from the 3rd fret, again, you're going to practice your E form first, starting at the 3rd fret. Move up a fret at a time, or what we call a half step. 1 fret at a time, and play the scale again with the same fingering. The next, and we did this last week. We just move up, use the same fingers in the same position. Same way with the A shape, the one we learned this week. Slide, slide, up a half step, same thing. I'm playing very quickly, but this is my point. If you practice 20 reps per fret and move up, say, 4 or 5 frets every time you sit down, by the end of the 3rd or 4th day, you'll be playing faster than 60 beats a minute. If you can't play 60 beats a minute at the end of the week, you're not keeping track of your scales. So you think you're getting enough practice, but you're not. So you really need to get in there and really practice those scales. Once they become easy and they seem intuitive, that's when you've practiced enough. So that's kind of a way you can check yourself. Again, try to pay attention to the milestones that are in the syllabus. And you can bring the syllabus up by just clicking on it on the home page. And if you're a first level membership, which is what we hope you are, and you're studying with us and you're taking the first term, again, first level is actually 2 terms, it's 20 weeks. So figure you're going to take at least 20 weeks to learn this. That's about 5 months. But by the end of 5 months, you should be able to finger pick, play probably any tune you choose to play off the internet, that's got chord symbols, and you'll be able to read those chord symbols. That's what will happen for you in the first 2 terms. Plus, you'll know blueses in several different keys, and you'll be able to bar chord by the end of the second term. So we're going to this is a condensed learning, so you're only at the second week. So we're going to get the 5 scales together, get your open chords together. Next week, we'll talk about the C form. So take a look at that. If you can move ahead quickly, and you got it together to move forward on your own at your own speed, move forward sooner. Your evaluation can come sooner. You don't have to wait for 10 weeks to have an evaluation. You don't have to wait for the midterm for an evaluation if you're moving forward and you're making the milestones. Ideally, by the end of the first term, you should be able to play quarter notes at 120 beats a minute on your scales. That's kind of a minimum. And by the end of 10 weeks, you should be able to play through your 3 chord primers, strum through them, both quarter notes and eighth notes. That's basically the syllabus. That's the milestones for the first 10 weeks. If you get there sooner than 10 weeks, please get on board, get on the ORT, talk to us. We'll set you up with your next term, and we'll consider that a real short little private lesson along with an evaluation. It's really very helpful, and it's all part of what you get when you get a membership. So I hope you're enjoying this. Practice hard. It's getting difficult. A couple more weeks, the difficulty will change. Stay on your reps and be true to your school. Keep practicing. We'll see you on the 3rd week. Thanks a lot.